Today's goal is to name intervals where a function is positive or negative, increasing or decreasing, and to see the difference between those categories and interpret average rate of change. So by intervals, of course, we mean x values, right? It would look like this, an x value to a separate x value if you're including them, or parentheses if you're not including that x value. Positive, a function is positive on x values where the y values are above the x-axis. A different way to say the same thing is a function is positive on x values whose y values are greater than 0, right? Negative means less than 0, so a function is negative on x values where the y values are less than 0 or below the x-axis. But increasing and decreasing, it doesn't have to be above or below the x-axis. It's just about, are the x values going up, or are the y values going up? Maybe they're going up at an increasing rate, maybe they're going up at a constant rate, maybe they're going up at a decreasing rate. But decreasing means when you're looking left to right, the y values are going down. Again, maybe they're going down at a constant rate, maybe they're not going down at a constant rate, but reading left to right, you can see that the y values are going down. And finally, average rate of change, or we can abbreviate it, AROC, is just change in y over change in x. It's slope. It's just rise over run. Okay, let's get started. Suppose Brandon makes a mixtape and starts selling CDs. His profit is shown to the right as a function of, so as a function of means the next thing is the x values, the number of weeks after he released his mixtape. So x would be number of weeks, and y would be profit. How much money is he making? On which intervals are his profits positive or negative, and interpret what that means in context. So positive means above the x-axis. So we're looking at this region here and this region here. It looks like that's about from the x values 2 to 7 and then 9 onwards. So we would say his profits are positive. This means he's making money, right? At 2 weeks and exactly at the 7th week, he's breaking even. He's spending the same amount of money as he's making. But between weeks 2 and 7, not including weeks 2 and 7, he's actually making money. He's spending less than he's earning. So his profits are positive, meaning he's making money. On the interval 2 to 7. I'm using parentheses because at the very beginning of the 2nd week and the very beginning of the 7th week, he's breaking even. He's not earning positive profit. And the interval from 9 onwards. It looks like he's going to make money for the rest of the function. Okay, his profits are negative in the other spots, right? So they would be negative here. We can assume from the beginning of the function. So on the intervals, let's use a bracket from 0. It looks like he's going to start out in the hole, which makes sense because he would have invested some money to make a mix CD. So from 0 up to 2, not including 2. Again, at 2, he's making the same amount that he's spending. And so U, this U stands for union. Notice it's not a U like I'm writing this one with like a little tail. It's just like a big parabola. So from 0 to 2, union meaning also from 9 onwards. Oh, I'm sorry, also from 7 to 9. Okay. Let's take a look at the same problem and talk about when his profits are increasing and decreasing and what that means. So increasing means as I trace it from left to right, the y values are going up, right? That would be from here to here to here, all the way up to here. At the x value, looks like about 4. All of a sudden, the y values are going down if I'm just tracing it from left to right. So that would be a region of decrease. And then again, it looks like his profits go back up. So we would say his profits increase on the intervals. It looks like right from the beginning they're starting to increase up to week 4. At week 4, they're not increasing or decreasing. They're just sort of, it's like pausing for just a second in time. And then again, 6, 7, 8. This looks like about week 8. So U stands for union, means also from week 8 onwards. And this means his profits in those weeks were greater than, going up, his profit in the previous week. Let's take a look at an example. In week 2, he's breaking even. So he's not making money, he's not losing money. In week 3, he's making money, right? He's making more money in week 3 than he did in week 2. But in week 2, even though he just broke even, so he didn't actually make any money, he made more than he did in week 1, which was some negative number, right? In week 1, he was spending a lot more than he was making. And in week 2, even though his profits aren't positive, he is losing less than he lost in week 1. So his profits were increasing or going up. So you could say his profits decreased on the interval from 4 to 8. That means like in week 5, for example, he made less money than he did in week 4. Oops, in week 5 he made less than week 4. In week 6 he made less than in week 5, and so on. And our final question today is about average rate of change. So these are intervals, so these are all x values. So this is an x value, this is an x value, this is a different x value. I'm labeling these all x1 and x2 because average rate of change is just change in y over change in x. It's a slope. So if we're looking at 1.5 to 3, let's see where that actually is. So 1.5, we've got this point 1.5, negative 20. And 3, that's our other x value. 2, 3. Looks like the y value is about 24, we'll estimate. We don't have the function itself to substitute 3 in, so this is just our best estimate. So here's my x1 value and my x2 value. They're corresponding y1 and y2. So if we're finding the average rate of change on the interval from 1.5 to 3, this is change in y, so y2 minus y1 over change in x. And this is the same slope formula you've been calculating for many years. So minus a negative, that turns into plus. So we have 42 over 1.5, which is, 44 over 1.5, which is 29.33. So this means that on average, thus the name average rate of change, Brandon's profits increased. I'm saying increased because the average rate of change was positive 29.3. So they increased $29.33 per week, right? This is an amount of money, his profits, the y values. This is a number of weeks, so this is profit per week. From weeks 1.5 to 3. Essentially, that's the slope right here between these 2 points. Okay, let's calculate a few more. What about from weeks 3 to 4? Well, let's see where that point 4 is. That point 4 appears to be around, right here, 430. So if we calculate the average rate of change from the x value 3 to the x value 4, we have change in y over change in x. So that would be my two y values, I'm going to subtract. So you get 6 over 1, which is 6. Well, that makes sense. Look, his profits are increasing so dramatically between weeks 1.5 and weeks 3. From weeks 3 to 4, his profits are still going up, right? They're still increasing. If we're ignoring sort of this lull in the middle, we're just looking at these 2 points, but they're not increasing by nearly as much. So we would say Brandon's profits increased an average of, again, we're just taking an average because we're only looking at those 2 points. This, again, is an amount of money. This 1 is 1 week. So this was an average of $6 per week from weeks 3 to 4. You got to always give the interval that you're looking at because his profits vary dramatically depending on which weeks you're looking at. Okay, one more from weeks 2 to week 7. So we need to look at those points. We've got here, it looks like we've got the point 2, 0 and 5, 6, 7. This is the point 7, 0. Make sure you've got those points labeled in your own graph so you can tell where these numbers are coming from. So the average rate of change from the x value 2 to the x value 7 would be my change in y over change in x. So 0 minus 0 over 7 minus 2 gives me 0 divided by 5, which is just 0. This is sort of interesting. What we're showing here is that even though his profits actually increased and then they decreased, if you ignore everything between weeks 2 and 7 and look only at weeks 2 and 7, his profits didn't change at all. He was breaking even at week 2, he was breaking even at week 7. So if we ignore everything between them, his profits didn't change. We would interpret more formally by saying Brandon's profits increased $0 per week, so didn't change. On average, again, this on average is really important because they obviously did change. His profits did go up, we saw that, and they did go down. But if we're just looking at an average from those 2 points, from weeks 2 to 7, then it looks like his profits didn't change at all.